Hello everyone. In this video, we'll see how to download this MySQL Community Edition and install it. So you need to open this link. I'll put this link in the description. Once you open it, make sure you download the this file, which is somewhere around 427 MB. So click on the download. It may ask you for login or create a new account. No need to do any of this thing. You can straight away download without logging in. So no thanks. Just start my download. So here I go. Just save it. So we'll see the installation once the download is completed. So the download is successful. Now let's run this. So I'm running it. It's loading actually. Yeah. So once loaded, we'll get these options. So we have option called developer default, server only, client only, full, and custom. So we need developer default. We can see what are the things it will install. It will install MySQL server. Obviously, that is our database server. MySQL shell, which means you can connect to MySQL from command prompt. There are a few other things which you are not worried about that. And the very important thing is MySQL Workbench. So this is the GUI application to develop or for manage the server. In simple, this is a place where you can write your queries, where you can create your queries. Sorry, you create your tables, right? For Python, we have Spider, we have Jupyter, right? Like that for uh, MySQL, we have MySQL Workbench. So in this workbench, we can write, as I said, right? We can write what are the queries we want, right? So we go with the developer default. I clicked on next. So let me select the folder here. So I'm installing in my E drive. So say next. Yeah, the selected path already exists. Okay. You don't want to exist a folder, then fine. Okay, now just say next. Yeah. So next. Yeah. So to run MySQL in Windows, we need the Visual Studio, right? So say next and say OK. So these are the things which will be installing, like MySQL Server, Workbench, Notefire, blah 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 blah. There are many things which is going to uh, install. So now just say execute. So when you say execute, it will install, the one by one. Now if you see SQL Server is getting installed. Yeah, almost done. So 90, yeah. Now it is installing the workbench. As I said, it will install step by step. So it will take time based on your system configuration, CPU, RAM, all those parameters. Yeah. So workbench installation is completed. Now installing the other, softwares. Now it is installing the shell. So instead of using workbench, you can simply open your command prompt, right? And you can type the queries there. It's not that interactive. So workbench is like, you can save your queries, you can do a lot of steps. It's more of, the graphical user interface. It's still installing MySQL shell. And if you see that these are the connectors, like, you can call it as a drivers, right? So if you want to connect to your database using any programming language, you mostly use ODBC, right? So JDBC, ODBC are two different concepts, right? So if you want to connect via Java, you use JDBC, right? ODBC is the open standard where you can connect with ODC with any programming language, and they are also providing the connectors for C++, Java, .NET, Python, right? You can see this, right? I don't know why this is MySQL shell is taking a lot of time. Let's see. Let's wait. Yeah, so now the remaining things are getting installed. So remaining things will be faster because they're just, the small piece of code software, right? Yeah, yeah. Now all the things are installed. So now we'll say next. The next step is mostly the product configuration, right? So say next. Yeah. So So we are mostly going for the standalone because we are installing a SQL server for our learning purposes. So we don't need clusters. In case if you're deploying this MySQL server in production, then maybe you can go for this option. So we'll go for the first option, standalone MySQL server. And this is the port. So we should remember this. This port is very important. We it's better if you don't remember. We have to note it down in some place. So say next. So it is asking for the password. I mean, of course, I mean, we need to provide the credentials, right? So let me see, we have two options. This, okay, maybe I'll use the first option because this is recommended. So next, so I'm providing the password. So now we need to add the user. So, right, so maybe I'll call it admin, right? And his role is DB admin. So these are the roles and responsibility. When you say DB admin, he'll have all the access. He can do whatever he want to do in the database. So we have DB designer, like more of the software developers, right? The DB managers. We have different roles. So I'm saying this admin is the main person for everything. So now I created one user, right? And by default, the user will be root. The default username is root, and whatever the user password which we provided here is a password for the root user. So we created one more user called admin, right? Like that, you can create a number of users. We can also create users once the DB configuration is done. That anyways we are going to see in our upcoming videos. So just say next. So we need to give some, the meaningful name. So I'm saying start the MySQL server at system start. It is better if you choose this, or else, you have to go to services and manually start the server. Rather, you can check this. So now we are executing it. So now whatever the password, users, other configuration which we just created, those will be, configured now. Technically speaking, our MySQL server is getting configured now. So this initializing database, it may take some decent time. So we need to wait for some time. So I'm passing the video. In case if you're interested what is going behind, you can, click on this logs. Here you can see what is happening, right? It's still running. We'll wait for a few more time. I'm passing the video. Yeah. So now the installation is successfully completed. The server is started successfully. You can see all the green ticks here. Now let's say finish. Next. Yeah, I mean you can test the connection. So yeah, I mean I'm not doing anything. I'm just saying finish here. It is asking to connect to the server. This is not required. You can simply cancel it. But you remember we entered the password and then we created one more user, right? So that password, the password which we entered without any user, if you remember, right? So the default username is root, right? So we should remember that. So that these are not required, just for the sake, I'm just completing all the steps. It may take a couple of minutes. So technically what this step is doing is, so if you remember when we are installing, we also install some examples, samples and documentation, right? Those examples, sample data, actually, it is creating it. So it is by default creating some tables, inserting some data, right? So that, whenever you connect to the database, you'll have some sample tables and all those things to see. In case if you're not sure what is tables, all those things, yeah, maybe you can watch my next video. There I talked about, what are tables, what is schemas, right? So how to create a schema, a database, right? So which we are going to talk in our next videos. Yeah, finally all the steps are completed. So let's finish it. Yeah, finish. Start my SQL shell after not required. Not required. Just a finish. Now maybe I'll make one more video there. We can see whether if our installation is successfully completed or not. So till then, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you.